good evening, and welcome to this week's live chat. We're going to be going into how you can make your audience feel seen here on YouTube. Now, I do have a special guest. It is Tibbles, my cat. He is literally like 2 seconds ago jumped up on the desk. So there he is. You can just see his little black tail popping in. Do you mind? He's like, no, actually, I don't mind. I don't mind at all. He's literally giving me the death stare. Excuse me, sorry. I'm so professional. I thought I had the cat sorted out. He was in the kitchen with the food bowl, and no, he's here now. He's here now. Hey, you can put your ear out of the shot. No. All right, well, there's a cat ear in the shot. I can't do anything about it because cats are their own people. And if I throw him down, there's a good chance he'll just chew through a power cable or something and just shut down the whole thing, because that's what cats do. They let you know that they are not happy. Okay, so are you making your audience feel seen on YouTube? Seriously? Oh my gosh, he left of his own accord, so that's good. Thank you, Tibbles. So we have lots of different ways that we can make our audience feel seen. So obviously there's live streaming in here, right? So like the easiest way is right now. Live stream consultants was the first chatter off the bench. Good afternoon, Chantelle. Good afternoon, live stream consultants. So great to see you. Doug's in here dropping all the GIFs. Thanks, Doug. And live stream consultants is also dropping in more GIFs as well. So that's probably the easiest way, is to jump in and say hello. Say hello to the people. Like, hello, Doug. Hey, how you going? Welcome to the chat. That's probably the easiest way. But not everybody live streams, right? And not everybody who does a live stream has all their audience turn up while the live stream is actually live. So YouTube give us so many tools. You can go in, you can add comments, you can love heart their comment, you can thumbs up, and don't just do the, oh, thanks for watching kind of comment. Ask them a question. Engage, talk to them. Don't just be like, cool, thanks for the view. But actually like connect you to create a connection. It's a two-way street, like straight up. It's a two-way street. If you're not willing to be connected with somebody else, then the connection's not going to happen. All right. Now, you know, a lot of us have heard about the parasocial sort of relationship between viewers and people that they watch, whether it's actors or you know, live streamers or people on YouTube or whatever it is, somebody who the person who has the parasocial relationship, they feel that they have more of a connection than actually exists. And so there is this balancing act, right? To try not to have that, to try to discourage that kind of next level parasocial relationship. But then there is the real connection, these people, those of you that are here right now, Doug and live stream consultants, you guys are here every single week. You have built a connection. I've actually met both of you in real life. Doug, we've hung out a few times. Live stream consultant says, everyone does not live stream. That's inconceivable. And I don't know why, but whenever I think of inconceivable, it's always Princess Bride, every time, without fail. I don't know why. And I'm not one of those hardcore Princess Bride fans. I haven't watched the movie 100 times. I have seen it a handful of times. But every time, it's that guy's face. Every time. So yes, love that. Love it. But building a connection with somebody is not a one-way street. If you're not willing to put the effort in, then neither is your audience. Like, let's just flat out be honest there. How many channels have you seen where people are just commenting and commenting and commenting, and then nobody replies back, ever? Like, sometimes it can take some time, like especially if it's a big channel, sometimes it can take some time. And those big channels, they usually have someone whose job it is to jump in and you know, connect with the audience. If it wasn't important, why would they hire someone to do that? Seriously, why would they hire someone to do that? If connecting with your community and connecting with your audience when you are not live is not important, why are there specific roles within organizations to do precisely that? So why would we not be doing this for ourselves? Like those of us who are one-man bands, we've already got a lot of hats to wear. Okay? We do. And let's just stick another one on the top of the pile and hope it doesn't teeter over. But you do need to be connecting with your audience. You do need to be commenting. You do need to be replying to your comments. If you want, excuse me, sorry. If you want to be making sure that these people come back and view again, leave a comment again, become part of your community, the only way to build a community is for you to be part of it. Okay, so this is, I get asked, a few different circles, like, how do you build a community? How do you keep them engaged? And my one big, like my throwaway line is you get out what you put in. If you're not willing to be in there or have someone in there on your behalf, commenting and moderating and starting conversations and sharing things, then neither is your audience. They're not going to be in there. They're not going to be asking the questions. Doug here in the chat, what is it that, like, because you reply to comments a lot, and I see that. What is it that drives you to reply to the comments in your live streams, like replays and your videos? What is it that makes you do that? Because obviously we all have different motives, and we all have a different goal for our channels. We all have a different sort of end game. What is our end game? What is the most important thing? Is the most important thing views? Is the most important thing, watch time? Is the most, everyone has a thing that's the most important thing. For me, it's community, and always has been, which is why other things go the wayside for me, because I'm prioritizing community. Okay, so we all have the thing that is most important to us, and they're not right or wrong. And I want to put that straight out there. Having your own goals, just because they don't match up with someone else's goals of what they consider to be successful, does not make them right nor wrong. That makes them your goals. So if you have an external business and your goal is to get traffic to that business, you're going to do things differently on YouTube than other people. But then other people are going to do things differently than you, and that doesn't make them wrong either. So that's why there's so many different ways to do things. There's no right way or wrong way. But I will say this. If you are not connecting with your community, if you are not making the effort to heart their comments, to reply as often as you can, setting aside, blocking calendar time specifically for that task, and then you're surprised when you're not getting comments, and you're surprised when no one's responding, there's a disconnect. So this is a big thing. Doug says daily. Doug says he sets aside time daily. And I agree with that, Doug. I have a look every single day. Now, obviously, my channels are smaller, so I don't need to set aside hours every day for this task. But as your channel grows, it needs to be, this time that you allow for connecting with your community also needs to grow. Why? Because your community is growing. And that means that they need a little bit more effort from you. So one of the things that I found that, like, for me as a viewer, right? Let me know in the chat, how many of you have jumped into a live stream, not understood that it was like a recording for a podcast or something, started commenting like you do in other live streams, and you get nothing. There's no one in there. There's like, for a start, the person on camera, they're busy doing something else. So they may have their chat turned off so they're not distracted because they're doing a thing. But there's no one in that community. There's no one in the audience actually saying, hey, they're just doing a recorded bit. They're going to be connecting with the community soon. A lot of people leave during those because they just don't know what's going on. Now, Shelley Saves a Day used to do this really cool thing. So she would have like a little GIF, animation. It was a little animation that would just roll, like that. It would just be like podcast recording. So you knew at a glance what was going on and why at that exact moment there was no connection happening to the audience. You've got Nick Nimmin, whose audience on his live streams is so large that there's no physical way he can respond to every comment in the chat, but he has made a way so that people can still ask him questions directly by using his form so that they can get their questions asked. It's still free. People don't have to pay. It's not pay to play. but he's made it so that they can still connect with him and in a meaningful way that he can still roll it into his live stream. And every now and again, he still does jump into the chat and just say hi to a few people. But he can't say hi to everybody because that would be the stream, right? That would be the stream. If you are somebody who doesn't live stream, if you're somebody who doesn't live stream and you're getting comments on your videos and you are not responding to those comments. Now, obviously, there are some comments that don't deserve a response. Like, let's just lay that out. There absolutely are. There's some comments out there that don't deserve a response, but they need to be moderated. So you need to either get rid of them or, respond asking for clarity just in case you've misread it. Oh, hello, you're back. Thanks. Can you, oh, seriously, dude, I'm gonna have to shut the door. Thank you. He's just gonna lay down on the table. Oh, now there's cat hair. Such a professional studio. Tibbles is not normally the big on the table cat guy. It's not normally, like, some of you who've been around for years are like probably seen Tibbles once or twice, but lately he's a bit more moochy. He's a bit more in your face. But anyway, sorry, we need a cat walking across the screen gif, don't we? Well, actually we have one. His name is Tibbles and he's just going to randomly go across the screen. So when you are not live streaming and you're getting these comments in your audience, what people see is when they go to the comments, they see, oh, there's no point commenting because, that no one responds. So, it is just, people will base they decide their action based on how you've treated someone else. So if you are not responding to comments, there's a good chance people aren't actually going to reply, actually not going to comment. Then there's also those people that comment on videos that are 8 years old and you're just like, and they're like, this is not valid, blah, 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 blah. And you're kind of sitting there like, this is an 8-year-old video. I would be worried if this was still the case. Let's have a look here. So Livestream Consultants has said on bigger channels on VODs, many will be in the comments for the first hour it goes up. After that, they check it daily. For live streams, you need to be in the chat. That's community building, in my opinion. I 100% agree. And I do understand that once your channel starts hitting this sort of, this particular size, and it's going to be different, obviously, depending on everything. But once it starts hitting a certain size, you're not going to be able to respond to every single comment the second it happens. You're going to have to allocate time for it as well. And you're also going to need to allocate time to the most recent videos because that's likely to be the ones getting the most comments and interaction and traction. But that doesn't say that to neglect the older ones as well. So luckily with YouTube, we can go into our comments area and actually filter it by whether we've responded or not. So that helps to narrow things down, which is really good. So having somebody in your comments area, so whether it is in a live stream, like right now, this is a small stream and I can watch the comments. Now, luckily for me, I also have Doug here as well, who if I miss something, he's on it. He's a great moderator. If you can get Doug as your moderator, then you've basically made it as far as I'm concerned. But, you've got someone in there in case I miss something. I'm on one of my little tirades. I'm not looking at the chat. I'm like, rah, at something. And Doug's watching it tick over, tick, 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 to make sure I don't miss anything, too important. or somebody feels like that they're being ignored. And I don't like that. I don't like for somebody to feel like they've been ignored. Now, if it's a bigger chat, a little bit of common sense has to come into play, but it doesn't always. Like, we've seen it. We've all seen it. We've been in live streams where somebody jumps in and is just like, why won't they respond to me? Why won't they answer my questions? And you see it. And you're like, dude, there's 300 people in this chat. Like, you may just have to wait a bit, or if there's a form in place or something like that. Home Rapid Repair says, my daily comments are now about 25 or so, and I really want to keep up with them. That is awesome. See, I think that's probably why, you don't, why your community is building, why your audience is growing, because you not only jump in and respond to people's comments, you're helping people every day solve problems. And problem solvers who answer questions can get in there and just really, I don't know, I think that creates a connection. Like, let me know in the chat, do you think that if somebody helps solve your problem, do you think that instantly starts a connection? It may not be the whole connection, but somebody already feels that little bit of like, oh, wow, this is exactly the video I needed. So tick, little connection there. Then they respond, this is exactly the video I needed. Tick, that's a second response. And then you've got the other people. Doug, can you grab that one for me? Then you've got the other people who just also go in and then you reply to their, hey, this video is exactly what I needed. Then you've got, you know, hang on. Then you've got just the people that go in and have, sorry, I got a bit distracted there. So you've got the people who you, I'm going to take a sip of my drink. Sorry. I've got very hot tea today. It's very hot. I should probably let it go. Yeah, it's all good, Doug. Thank you. Okay, so you've got these connections that are being built. So you've got the person who responds in your comments, then you coming back and responding in those comments. And then if they come back again, then you can come back again, and it creates this conversation. Other people jump into those conversations. Oh, hey, I've had the same problem. And then you can be like, oh, cool, did this work for you? So, you know, you can get these conversation streams going and going and going, and that starts building and creating community. Home Rapid Repair says, we recorded a video today and toward the answer said, I answer free home improvement questions daily. I'm friendly. Please comment and ask away. I love that. I love that because you are friendly and you are helpful and you're trying to help people through pain points. Like, let's be honest, most people who are creators on YouTube are trying to help someone through a pain point. Now, this is not just education channels like myself, or you've got Home Rapid Repair who's helping people fix things in their homes, but you've also got like gamers playing through, like getting through a level, and somebody would be like, oh man, I haven't been able to get through that level. And while the gamer might just be playing the game, they're actually still helping someone through a pain point. And that's obviously a broad umbrella. But yeah, I agree that I think that's a great call to action, because quite often I'll see people commenting like no one leaves comments. Excuse me, no one leaves comments. I don't get any comments. And it's like, do you ask for comments? Do you ask people to come in and leave a comment or ask a question, or, you know, like, do you have that call to action in place? And they're like, well, no. And it's like, well, how do they know you want to comment? Because some humans will just comment, right? Some, depending on the audience that you've got, there's always people like Aaron there who's always got an opinion or something that they want to drop. They will just comment, right? And they will just throw that out there. But then there's other people that will like, oh no, I don't want to, I don't want to waste their time. I don't want to, I know they're already doing so much for so many people. I'm sure I can find the answer without, leaving a comment. Oh, here he comes again. Hello. Which way are you going now? Yes. Are you right? He's my little old man cat. He's 15 now. So, sorry, I've been corrected. He's 16. So yeah, we don't just kick him out or anything like that. He's an old man cat. Anyway, so having your call to actions is so important. So on my Fiberific live streams, I will regularly ask, what are people working on? What's in their cup? So like, we always joke about how I've always got my Yeti full of something. What have you got? Have you got water? Have you got coffee? What's in your cup right now? I know we're at different time zones. So for me, it's still a bit early to have anything heavier in my cup if I was going to have anything heavier. So, it's even simple little things that are, how do I describe this? They're not hard. They're not like someone feels like they need to have a smart answer. They don't feel like if I put the wrong thing in here, I'm going to sound stupid. No, this is a simple call to action. What is in your cup? What's in your cup? Let me know in the chat. If you're watching right now, what have you got in your cup? Livestream Consultant says, if I have a question or a perspective to share, I post a comment. Well, that is awesome. I love that. Dimmy Hard, welcome to the chat. So good to see you. Thanks for joining in. A Livestream Consultant has a Diet Coke and a pineapple top pizza. Oh, geez. I'm here for the pineapple top pizza. Absolutely. And see, this can start another conversation. So we'll have people in the chat like Doug, who'll be like, ew, pineapple on pizza. And it will also build its own thing. And then there's a whole Pepsi versus Coke thing. And that can also build more comments. And these are simple, light, like how's the weather kind of levels of conversation. And starting with those is not a bad thing, right? I know everybody wants the good, deep, meaningful, helpful points and questions, and they will come. But people have to feel confident that they can comment first. They have to feel like they're in a place where they can comfortably comment and not be piled on by people with negative sort of opinions. Now, obviously, that's going to depend on the industry that you're in or the niche that you're in, because sometimes you may want those negative comments. Let's be honest, we know there's some people who love that. That's not my jam, but it could be yours. Let's have a look here. So Home Rapid Repair says Diet Pepsi, doesn't approve. Oh dear. Dimmy has water in their bottle. He's hydrating. That's awesome. Home Rapid Repair says, we have autumn donuts ready to go for tonight for the fam. I have no idea what an autumn donut is. Is it just a standard donut that you eat in autumn? I don't know. And is it not winter for you? I'm confused. Now I need to know more about what autumn donuts are. I have no idea. I've never heard of them. So, so this is building a conversation. But then depending on what you're streaming about, you may want to next level it. You don't want it to be just Coke versus Pepsi, pineapple on pizza, or the food conversations, because quite often there is a lot of food discussions, especially in multinational live streams, because things are different. Like I know Coke in Australia is different than Coke in the USA. So, things are different, and those conversations will naturally happen. But you may want it to be that little next level deeper. And how do you get it to be that next level deeper? You have to start it yourself. You have to ask the question, and people may or may not be as comfortable to answer those, because right now, lots of you jumped in and instantly answered what was in your cup. But if I come in and go, what is your preferred live streaming software? That is a harder question. Now, some of you will know that off the top of your head, and that will be awesome. So please pop that in the chat. What is your preferred live streaming software? And this gives me information. So not only is it a question that helps you to, sorry, my family have decided to have a meeting like right near my door. So everyone's home today. Sorry? I think I do need something harder in my drink just to keep Tibbles at bay. Sorry, my husband's working from home today. So, but yeah, so you've got these harder in-depth questions where not only will they be an answer that you can give. So Doug's like Ecamm and Livestream Consultants is OBS. This can start to help me with more information where I can focus the conversation. So two of you have a preferred live streaming software. Now, those of you that haven't answered, is it because you don't have a preferred live streaming software? Is it you don't live stream yet? So you can start to build these conversations and go from there. You can start to build in and get deeper answers and learn things about your audience, because it is not necessarily about, how many responses, okay? Because some people are like, oh, I had 100 people watching who watched my video, but I only got one comment, the comment to viewer ratio. I don't care about a comment to viewer ratio. Seriously. What was that question that person asked? Did that person ask the question that everybody else was afraid to ask, so they all got their answer? You need to think deeper. You need to think deeper. All right, let's have a look. Home Rapid is answering my questions about these autumn donuts. Oh, okay. I understand. They're kind of like autumnal flavors. Right, right. I get it. I get it. So seasonal favorite at the local park to table and pumpkin patch, best type sellers this time of the year. Interesting. Interesting. I like that idea. Yeah, Doug, that's the thing. They're all correct answers. The ECAM, the OBS, they're all correct. There's no wrong answer. No one's going to come out and go, oh, I'm using Meld, and we all go, Meld. No, that's not what we do here. But there are audiences, and I don't think it's any of us that are here, but I've seen live streams where someone will come in and ask a question. And not only does the streamer pile on, but so does all the community. And that creates a really hostile environment for new people to feel comfortable to come in. And so you have to be thinking about what is the environment that you're building. Are you creating a place where people can comfortably come and ask questions? Because I've been streaming for a long time. I don't have all the answers. And somebody who comes in and has never streamed before, they might have a question that somebody else thinks is a dumb question, but they don't know the answer to it. So how are they going to get the answer to it if they don't ask? They may have Googled it and gotten 14 different answers to the same question. I remember way back when I was first starting streaming, everything that I read told me I couldn't stream because of the internet upload speed I had. Everything said I couldn't do it. And it wasn't even like, oh, you'll have low quality or, oh, this. No, it's just, it can't be done. And then I remember I came across, I think it might have been Gaming Careers with one of their OBS tutorials, because I was streaming with OBS at the time. And they were like, oh, look, if you're going into an area that has less internet than you're used to doing, you can change it, this setting by reducing your bit rate down to sort of, and he went through and explained that the comparison of the bit rate speeds to your upload speeds. And I'm just like, I'd been told, like, in every Reddit, every forum, everywhere I went, nah, sorry, you can't stream with that. Not, you could, but it'll be really poor quality and no one's going to watch it. Or you could, but you'll need to make some tweaks and adjustments. No, it was just no in every one of these places. So from then on, I was like, right, Gaming Careers, I'm watching all of your content because you actually answered a question that I had, and you answered it in a way that did not make me feel judged for the internet quality that I had, because to be honest, I had no choice. At the time, that was all that was available in our area. And we all have that issue. We are limited to what is available to us. We can't all have gigabit internet. I know lots of people have it, but we don't all have it. And so having those sort of creators like Gaming Careers out there answering these questions was amazing. Yeah, it was an awesome channel, right? I agree, Doug. Absolutely thought it was like a fantastic channel. That and Epos Vox, they're both fantastic for especially at the time, for OBS stuff, which is what I was hunting for. Now I'm a bit of I'm like trying to say Epos Vox Addy at the same time. My brain just went, I love his stuff. I think it's really interesting. So Russell's in the house. Hey, how's it going, Russell? Love the pillow color. Me too. Me too. I think it's great. It matches me. It's like got to bring the yarn into more, like we can't just have piles of yarn in places, we need to have something yarn created as well, right? So having these people like just piling on with the negativity in your communities, you also need to stop that. So obviously it's going to depend on the community that you have and the niche that you have. If you have more of a, that kind of, like, there are channels that rely on that negativity. There are absolutely channels that rely on having that negativity, and they need it to survive their thing. But if you're not that kind of channel and you don't want to build that kind of audience, then you need to make sure that your community understands that and they know where the lines are. You need to have community rules. Andrew says, yarn, have you thought about making a channel about that? I have considered the possibility. Yeah, it's sort of been floating around my head. Good to see you, Andrew. Good to see you. So you need to be keeping an eye on your comments areas. responding, replying to your comments in a way that encourages more conversation. Like, thanks for the video, full stop. That's the end of a conversation. Sorry, not thanks thanks for your comment. Thanks for watching. They're all full stop comments. They don't build conversation. So think about when you're having a conversation with a person and you want to keep that conversation going, you don't ask closed-ended questions. You don't just make statements and leave them laying there expecting a response. Again, depends on who you're talking to. So then this stream is like a long form yarn. It is. Yeah. You want to make sure that you're asking the open-ended questions, that you are inspiring more conversation. You're making people stop and think a second and then ask another question, or they can be responding to your question. Like, on my yarn crafting channel that does actually exist, hilariously enough, what is your favorite yarn craft? What is your favorite yarn craft? And that starts its whole other things. That in itself starts conversations, because then there's people that have only ever knitted, only ever crocheted, and then they're coming together and then they're learning new things. Andrew says, I ask questions and go deeper. Then they ask, why do you need my mum's maiden name and my family pet's name? Sometimes communication is hard. Yes. Yeah. I can see why they would ask those questions. Yeah. I'm just going to sit here and drink my tea. It's still too hot. I'm going to take the lid off it. It's too hot. The Yeti's keeping it too hot. And and Andrew's here and I don't have a water bottle, and now my Pavlovian response is freaking out. Let me just close that. There we go. Yeah, gotta love the English language. That's right. Gotta love it. But yeah, so building community and building it's like a muscle you have to flex, right? It's going to take a little bit. And look, I'm terrible. Sometimes I don't have the time or the brain, energy to actually jump in and go deep in the comments areas all the time. But I'll tell you what, those comments will at least get a heart, because sometimes you just cannot get to everything all the time. Or sometimes they have just gone, love the video. And you don't really have the time or the energy to dig deeper. So you can give them the YouTube little heart. You can give them, so they know they've been seen. And they've been seen by the channel, not just the thumbs up that anybody can give, but a heart that only the person who's running the channel or one of their team can do. So making people feel like they are seen by you. So when they come back in again, they feel that confidence to ask a question. If the first time around they weren't confident enough to ask a question, you don't know what's going on for people. You have no idea. You've got no idea what it is going on behind the scenes for them. You don't know what their motives are or their motivations are behind what they're saying and what they're doing. So you do need to sort of keep that a little bit in the back of your mind as well. Yeah, that's right. We talked about this earlier I actually said, is it more views? Back at the beginning of the chat, we were talking about what is the goal? Why are you on YouTube? Why are you here? And all of these things are going to play into how you're doing this. So, if you do have these sort of plans and like for Russell has products that he wants to sell. So his goal could possibly be different to, say, Doug's goal. Doug's goal, I'm assuming here, Doug, so please correct me if I'm wrong. Your goal is to educate people and to give them the best path forward on YouTube, but you don't actually have a physical product like a course or a workshop to sell. You do have some smaller physical products, but you don't really plug them, so most people don't know they're there. So that sounded like a dig. It was not meant to be a dig. But as I was saying, I was realizing, no, wait a second, Doug does have physical products. So different people's sort of path on YouTube is going to denote the answers to this. So you're going to have to you're going to have to keep an eye on what it is that, your goal is, because you don't want to be deviated from that path. What your end goal is, if your end goal is to get people into your workshop, it's going to be different than somebody who doesn't have a workshop. They don't have that end goal. So their end goal will be getting people to watch maybe another video or comment or something like that. So you do always need to keep an idea on what your end game is. What is it that you consider to be the success point? And what are you doing to get to that success point? And everyone's is going to be different. Do you have a goal, or is this just to have a chat? Russell, it's kind of both. We're having a discussion about building community and about making your viewers feel seen and about the ways that you can do that. But also, it's one of my live streams, so it's going to be a chat as well, because it always is. Amazing Yacht Destinations. It's so good to see you. Thanks for jumping in. It's been a bit. Sarah Dawns, how are you going? Just saw the notification, so sadly I'm a bit late. It's all good, Sarah. It's all good. You can always jump in and you can always watch the start again another time. It's just how these things run. Home Rapid Repair says, why was Daryl and Nick asking you to screenshot the ticket winners? I was thinking you already have a database set up with 3 backups of all the channel names. Oh, that's hilarious. No, that's just a task that I have to do sometimes to make sure we don't miss any of the winners. But yeah, so one of the things like that I do, right, to build community here in these live streams is I try to make sure that my live stream is on at the same time every week. Now, I know not everybody likes to have that kind of like, I'm going to do this thing every single week, whether or not I have a big, massive point to make or not, right? And I know that, like, I'm in conversations with other creators and other platforms as well. Sometimes that they're like, well, I'd rather not do a post or not do a live if it's not going to be a banger, if it's not going to give us, that ultimate oomph, I'm not going to bother. And it's just like, well, I kind of look at things differently. I'm more of the slow burn person, like you slowly keep building and you get it into the people's brains that you're in the same bat time, same bat station. And they'll look at their watches and be like, oh, it's 7:00 on a Sunday night. I wonder if Chantelle's streaming, and get that into their brains, So it's a bit different. So let's have a look here. Andrew says, my goal is to build a community where creators can support and learn with one another. And I do that through videos, live streams, etc. When I'm not doing that, I'm running Hydration Nation. I love that. I was telling Andrew the other day that my brain has now actually started connecting when I see his name pop up on things, like whether it's like here in a live stream or if it's a message or a chat or something, my brain goes, oh, it's Andrew, you need a drink of water. And it's just like this thing now. And I'm really sorry, Andrew, that's happened, but I'm sure you are really, really happy. Let's have a look here. Andrew says, my success at this point is to keep my cats outside of the vet. Ironically, they're not drinking enough water. Oh, that's hilarious. I mean, it's not hilarious that your cats have dehydration. But yeah, it's hilarious that you, the man of the water, is having problems with your pets. Let's have a look here. Do you mean measure your community growth and tie that to the techniques you are trying? I don't know if it's as that sort of, I mean, it probably is exactly that, but my brain kind of puts it a bit differently. So it probably is exactly that, actually. But yeah, it's like, okay, so you want to build a certain kind of community with your certain kind of audience, and but what you're doing isn't working. So you have to keep trying new things. You need to adjust and readjust and make sure that you are not just hammering down a single path and just screaming into the wind and it's still doing exactly the same thing. What's the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting different results. Is that how, I'm not sure if that's exactly how it's worded, but that's how my brain, took it in. And I think a lot of people do that. I think that they just keep pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing, expecting a different result and getting those different results, but they're not trying anything else. So there's a lot of different things that you can try to build your community. There's a lot of different ways you can ask for your community to engage and jump into the chat. And it can start from something as simple and as, probably meaningless, like to someone who's like on a business level brain, as simple as what is in your cup. But sometimes you need to get people to take baby steps. I ran a live stream a couple of years back. There was 600 people like watching, but there was only the same 20 or 30 people commenting. And it turned out that most of these people were new to live streaming and had never really gotten involved in a chat before. They'd only ever watched live streams. And we slowly encouraged them. And then the chat started having these fantastic conversations with each other as well. And that is something. Like for Andrew, he wants his audience to be helping each other. I want my audiences to be helping each other. And not just through actual step-by-step tutorial education, but also just we're all YouTube creators here. We're all in the same boat. We're all working on the same platforms. We're all coming under the same or similar constraints. So we've got all these things that are just, that make a difference, that just jump in and just make people feel less alone, which is what community building is about. And the community doesn't need to be the exact same for everybody. It just doesn't, and it can't be. The different niches and different ways that we do things, like my community here would be totally different than yours, Russell. Not just because we have a different audience and we have a different sort of structure, but we have very different sort of views on how we want things to be run. And that's the wonderful thing about YouTube, is you can have that for your channel. I can have this for my channel. Andrew can have what he has for his. Doug can do what he's doing on his. Sarah can do what she's doing on hers. And everyone is doing these things, and they're not necessarily right or wrong. They may want different or better results, and we may need to change things up and tweak things up. But just gotta test things out. Just gotta test things out. Home rapid repair. Who bought Chantelle Hill's 3 coffees? Because, I can't see that anywhere. I'm confused, and the thing didn't come up. But if you bought me 3 coffees, thank you. I very much appreciate that. Funnily enough, someone else said the same thing about it being interesting that your cats are dehydrated. Cats are a problem, right? We found that our old boy, we had to start putting a bit of water in his wet food, and that helped with that. But obviously, you're at the vet, and the vet's telling you what you need to do. Lots of stuff here. Russell says, I suspect for some, the same result is what is desired as growth demands change and threatens comfort. Yes, it does. It does. Spot on. I always go back to that quote, ships are safest in the harbour, but that's not what they're made for. Yes, absolutely. Andrew says, true, and sometimes when I'm watching a stream, like when Chantelle's on her other channel, I don't say much because I don't have a lot to say other than just happy to hang. Yeah, and this is the thing, right? Like, I know that, Andrew, you jump in over on the other channel, and you're not a yarn crafter, dude. Well, not yet, anyway. I mean, that could change. I could help with that. I'm just saying. But I had a guy, like sheer truth here. I had a guy who came in, he was a troll, right? Many years ago, legit troll. Now he spins and knits, okay? And he still comes in, he's still got his troll handle. He's still a little bit trolly, but nowhere near as bad as he was. And his trolling was more cheeky and quirky rather than mean. So that was why he didn't get booted. But he now spins and knits. And so, you don't know who's watching and whether you can actually have an impact on them. I don't think that guy ever expected that day that he would end up in a yarn crafting community and stay for I think he's been with us now for about 7 years. I don't think that was his intention, but he's here. So let's have a look here. Sarah says, still new to the YouTube thing, really, but I'm trying. And do you know what? This is the thing. We are We are all trying. YouTube's constantly changing. Like, all you have to do is watch Doug's live stream every Saturday night. There is new stuff coming out nearly every week. There's tweaks happening. Sometimes there's big things happening. There's always, the sands are always shifting. We cannot rest on our laurels. We can't just go, yep, I've got this down, and be doing what we did 3 years ago and expect success here on YouTube. It's not going to work. It's just not. Things are different. Oh, my BMAC's not on screen either. You're quite right. I can remedy that, I think. There we go. Can remedy the BMAC. The BMAC's on the screen now. So if you are interested and you would like to buy me a coffee, you're more than welcome to. And I can work out why my widget, the widget was blacked out. Now I understand. I must have shut a pile of stuff down when I was moving things around, like, put the little line through the thing. But yeah, it's one of those things. So, if somebody does a BMAC, it should pop up now. It should, being the operative word. I don't know what's going on. Let me just check my mail, because I hate that I've missed something and I haven't been able to say thank you properly. Larry did buy me 3 coffees. Autumn is the best season. Coffee will keep you warm. Absolutely. Thank you, Larry. That's Home Rapid Repairs. So yeah, I must have had the BMAC pop up on my screen, be gone, be not there. So I very much appreciate you sending coffees my way. Let's have a look here. Andrew says I've learned quite a bit actually just by watching. Look, and I have people watch those streams who aren't yarn crafters, who are actually there learning how to do like multi-camera work. Like trying to they could be wood turners. They could be somebody who wants to show something that they're doing with their hands, like, creative wise, painters, what have you, usually creators. And they're learning the skills. And I learned the skills from watching gamers. So I was like the face cam and the game screen. I've got the face cam and my hands. And so you can glean things from other niches. You really can. You don't need to just go and watch like more of the exact same niche and get the exact same thing about you. Get the exact same thing, and so therefore have the exact same look. You can go into other niches and learn how to do things as well. Let me have a look here. Spreading the fiber arts gospel. Absolutely. Absolutely. So if we are all on YouTube and we all have access to the same tools, why are folks like Justin and Daryl making 7+ figures while others poke along happily with 1,000 subs? Well, I am 100% certain you know the answer to that question, Russell. And it is these guys, especially Daryl and Justin, the 2 names that you've picked. So we're talking Daryl Eves and Justin Brown from Primal Video. These 2 guys have gone in and worked out what their audience want and give them that. They don't make content that they want to make. And their goal, they both have specific goals. So Daryl's channel, his actual channel that he live streams from, so only 600,000 subscribers. But his business is outside of that. And yes, it is a filter, not a filter, a funnel. It's a funnel to his businesses for sure. And so, there's some people out there who actually comment on Daryl's channel about, why would I listen to you? And you're sort of sitting there thinking, like, you obviously have no idea what happens outside of YouTube, right? So these people, both these guys, have worked out exactly what their audiences want and give them that over and over and over again. Whereas some people, myself included, I have to put my hand up for this. I sometimes make content, quite often make content that I want to make, because I struggle very much with this side of things. I'm very happy behind the scenes, helping other people, doing other things. But when it comes to me doing it for myself, it is a totally different ballgame. So I have to put myself in the same basket. But we have to be making sure that we are doing what it is that our audience wants. You have to work out who it is that you're trying to serve. Who is it that you are trying to attract to your channel? What is it that they want? What is it that they actually need, or that they know that they need, or that they don't realize that they need, that you can give them? And then they go from there. So it is so different. Whereas there is a lot of channels, and even more with under 1,000 subscribers, that are there just putting out content that they just want to make. And they haven't quite, they're either like me and just focusing on other things, or they just haven't quite understood that they have to get their output to match their goals. And they haven't understood the connect yet, and they may still be learning. So there's lots of answers to that question. Now let me scroll back here. Lots of cat chat. Sarah says, ugh, I wish Doug's live stream wasn't so early for me. I've only managed to catch the replays. Doug's is a great stream, but even the replays are still really good. And Doug is also one of those great people who answer the comments. So if you want to leave a question in the comments, I'm sure he'd answer. Live streaming is a fluid thing. Yes, it is. My American brain went BMac equals a Big Mac. No, it's a coffee. It's a coffee. Buy me a coffee. But yes, I get that. Learn Spanish World. So good to see you. Welcome to the chat. Let's have a look here. Sarah says, I found out about the Stream Ninja from you, which has made me super happy. I love Stream Ninja, or Social Stream Ninja. It's what makes it so that I can bring these comments on screen and that have all of the, the full like new YouTubey, the super colorful emojis and the custom emojis. It brings them all in. It doesn't just make them words, like happy face, clap, it's just like, oh, I don't like that. But that's another form of connecting with your audience, is being able to bring their comments on screen, take a moment so that they know, hey, that they're just in here asking their questions. Russell says, and this is an example of what I'm doing here. So I'm bringing up Russell of Florida Manufacturers Home Living. And Russell has said, actually, James Wedmore had the answer on his call last week. The answer is that is what they chose to do. So, yeah, they've made a decision. You're right. That's a decision that they've made, or it's a decision they've refused to make. So then they get what they get. YouTube numbers don't always equal success, from Andrew, saying the amount of millions of views YouTubers, I'm going to try that again. Andrew says YouTube numbers don't always equal success. The amount of millions of YouTubers I know who have gone homeless, the amount of millions of view YouTubers I know that have gone homeless is astonishing and sad. Oh, absolutely. Like, I remember years and years and years ago, and it nearly put me off YouTube, because it was like when I was way back at the beginning, and I was watching one of those sort of behind the scenes of like, I cannot remember her name. Hang on a second. I can't think of her name, but she was pretty big in my brain. And she was a pretty big creator, but and there were two of them on the channel. Oh my gosh, I'm picturing faces, but I can't think of names. Anyway, I'm talking sort of 2005. No, not 2005. So 2010-ish time. Really big female creators, pair of them, and they do all sorts of stuff, right? Like sketches and things like that. Anyway, they were doing a behind the scenes thing. And what it was is they were having like a brainstorming session. So they were sitting in like their living room doing this brainstorming session. And then it was just like, oh, actually, I've got to go because I've just accepted an Uber Eats delivery. She was an Uber Eats driver, even though their channel had millions and millions of views on all of their videos. And it was because there was no business behind the channel. And, now we know you can't rely on AdSense, right? We all know that. You can't build a business based off AdSense alone. AdSense can be the cream on the top, and you can absolutely do a dance when that check comes in. But we've learnt so much along the way. But yeah, you're right. There's so many channels out there that have millions of views, millions of subscribers, and yet are not making enough to make ends meet. Home Rapid Repair says, Daryl is so focused on YouTube and content conversion. I bet even he would admit his lifestyle probably isn't great for mental health, family. Most people would never go that hardcore. Daryl actually is really family oriented. He blocks out time for his family. Yeah, it's I would say yes, he is very focused, but yeah, I don't know. Daryl is a special beast, I would say, when it comes to YouTube, and I think that's why there's only one Daryl. That's the thing, Doug. It's putting in. It's also about putting in the work for their particular goals and how much they want those goals. Like for me, when I wanted to learn how to live stream, I watched every piece of content I could, and absolutely having so much like content to take in to try and learn how to do the thing. But I absolutely was going to be live streaming, even with my 4 megabits per second upload speed. I was going to be live streaming. So, and I think that's the thing. My goal then was just like, no, you can't tell me I can't do this. I absolutely have to be able to do this. So I think that it depends on the person, the individual. Let's have a look here. Doug says, I blame Nick for my early start on for his live stream because he wants to get in before Nick, and Nick starts at 9. Yeah, look, I will confess, I've watched I've watched many a live stream from the comfort of my doonas, for sure. Andrew says, when you get to that level, money isn't the problem, it's time, and having someone help you manage your time is invaluable. I would 100% agree with this. And when you start talking to creators that are moving into this realm, and the money, while money is important to a degree, and you're right, the time becomes more important, and protecting that time. So like, I remember having a big chat with Justin Brown, and I was like, what was the first thing you outsourced? Like when you realized you could start handing off work and you were bringing in enough money to support sort of you and Mike as well, his brother. Like you guys, once you guys were sort of bringing in enough and everything was starting to roll, what was the first thing you outsourced? And he was like, actually, it was someone to come in and tidy the house and someone to do the lawns. It was actually lawns first. And it was just like, wait, really? It wasn't like something YouTube related? And he was like, no, he wanted those hours back that was spent doing tasks that somebody else could do, and it's their job to do it. And he could now afford to pay them to do that. That took like depending on the size of your lawn, like I know not everyone has a lawn, but we've got a big lawn here, and I know my husband's out there, most weekends putting a couple of hours into it. And I'm sure that he would be very happy to pass that baton onto someone else, and still have it done in a way that he's happy with. So yeah, it's really interesting. And this week in in Nick's live stream, Daryl actually said having a PA is something that's so important for him. And that's like, he needs fuel in his car, gives the keys to the PA. Can you fill the car up? All these little tasks that take time out of your day, because it's not just a 5-minute run down to, it's not just a 5-minute like run down to, get fuel in your car if it's local, but it's also okay, I actually have to stop what I'm working on, pause my brain, get in a vehicle, focus on traffic, drive, get the fuel, and then drive back, and then try to re-engage back into what I was working on. If you've got somebody else who can do that for you, then that is amazing. And obviously these people are at different levels, and everyone's at a different level. But if you can start thinking about the different things that to protect your time, I think that's always important. Yeah, Sarah Dawn says, yeah, I've tuned into live streams, snuggled up into blankets. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I chose to do live streaming, and I did everything I possibly could to make that happen. And now I'm here live streaming. So yeah, and I'm much more relaxed at it now than I used to be too. Let me tell you. Let's have a look here. Oh, absolutely. And Daryl has got, like, as he said in Nick's stream on Saturday, while he owns or part owns and runs 9 different companies, he has people in place in all those companies that are keeping them ticking over. So yeah, you've absolutely got to, especially if you're on that caliber of of Daryl and Justin and things like that. You've got to be, you've got to keep on top of things, but you don't have to be doing the minutiae of things. Russell says the first thing I outsourced was lawn trimming also. Yeah, get those hours back. Like, it's different if, if you're that person whose lawn trimming is actually your happy place. Like, there are people who love to go out there and just make their lawn, like manicure their lawns, and they enjoy it. And it's like, it calms their brain and they just get to focus in. Obviously, you probably wouldn't outsource that. You'd find something else to outsource. But if you've got like a task that you're just like, I freaking hate this so much and it has to get done, and you can afford to pay someone else to do it, the mental load of having that gone would just be insane. Let's have a look here. Sarah says, see, I have a plan for YouTube. 1, I've been asked for stitch tutorials for patterns, so having my own is helpful. And 2, I'm hoping to use those tutorials and lives as a discovery method. Fantastic. That is great. That is great. And Sarah says, and it seems to be working, and I've had people ask me about knit commissions, and I find out they first found out about my commissions from YouTube. See, people need the opportunity to learn who you are, and there is a lot of people out on the social medias, and they're just bombarded constantly. Like, I'm not kidding. I sit there talking to my husband in the morning. I'm like, I just watched I don't know, was it a short, a reel? I don't even know what platform I was on, but I was watching a thing, and then and we're just constantly getting all these things, and to have someone actually go, actually, this chick does commissions. I'm going to go and find her. Yeah. Mike Petty is the same way. Multi-million-dollar companies to run and still build airplanes in his hangar. Yeah. I'm just going to keep going. There's lots of conversations happening, which I love. I think it's awesome, but I feel like I only know half of the conversation, so I'll leave those be. And there's also those people who help build brands and companies, etc., build huge channels, and that is a viable path too. It depends. I did that for years, and now I am finally doing that on my own channel. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, there's even you, Andrew, 100%. There are people who look at your channel, try to judge you for your channel, but they don't know what you did for TubeBuddy. They don't know that you turned TubeBuddy from, 5,000 to 500,000 in and these are the things they don't understand what else that you're doing, and then they judge you for the little portion that they can see. Prime example, I was like reading comments in the Niman Extra Shorts channel, and someone actually was like, oh yeah, this channel's only got 8,000 subscribers and you're giving YouTube advice. And I'm sort of sitting there thinking, I think it's pretty clear that this is Nick Niman's channel, and this is an extra channel, and it links back to his actual channel in the description, because you can click on his name and it'll go back to his. Anyway, people do. They just judge. Home Rapid Repair says, I hired out my lawn about 10 years ago. I enjoyed the peacefulness about it when I was younger. Yeah, it gets to a point. Sarah says, I pay for an editor and a photographer for my business, an editor because you should never edit your own work, and a photographer because I suck at photographer. I don't know if I agree with you should never edit your own work, but unless you're talking about a pattern editor, which I do think you should have external pattern editors. But I think that everyone should be able to edit. I think, well, you know what? No, I don't even think that. I think if you want to pay for an editor, you pay for an editor. And if you don't want to pay for an editor, you don't pay for an editor, but still put out content. That's what I think. Yeah, and this is the thing. Home Rapid Repair says he pays for an editor. What's so cool about hiring out the editing is now you can be more creative about producing the work. Absolutely. Also, Crocheting and Knitting World is being bombarded by AI slop patterns. Oh my gosh, it is. It's awful. It's absolutely awful what's going on. I'm just gonna have a sip of tea. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. It is an absolute disgrace. The decision to outsource is related to choosing to shed the employee hourly worker mentality and become the entrepreneur. You're right. Yes, it is. Yeah, he got TubeBuddy their play button. He really did. He really did. Yeah. Andrew says, I've now since earned gold and diamond play buttons, and what people don't see is that it is hard work and at the scale with the team. Yeah, because like, you know, you didn't just work at TubeBuddy. You've worked for lots of other companies doing their YouTube stuff for them, and being like their YouTube guy in these other companies. And people who just come to your channel and don't know you, judgy. They're judgy people. They don't get it. So yeah. Oh, you did mean pattern editor. Awesome. That's good. Yeah, and live streaming and making your own content is absolutely, as live stream consultants are saying here, is absolutely the perfect way to distinguish yourself from the AI slop. It absolutely is, because you're putting you out there as well. Absolutely. My next hire is going to be a captioner for my live streams. One of my friends does professional high-level captioning, and she's willing to give me a friend's. I don't know what you mean by a captioner. Is not YouTube captioning, like you can do YouTube captioning, or does not work for live streams? I know you have to have a specific. You can't go ultra low latency if you want captions, but if you want, maybe there's no captions whatsoever. I would love to know the answer to that question. There are only okay. Okay, all right. Yeah. Okay, I get it. Fair enough. People who do professional closed captions. Yep. Yeah, and if you know your audience and you know that they would appreciate that, that is like, that's a great idea. I have a hack for Opus Clip, but even then it's only 2 hours of content they can handle. Yeah. And that's the thing. Your audience is specifically aimed at disabled folks. I want them to actually be accurate. I get that. And also because like, as long as you're doing it as proper closed captioning where people can turn it off and on YouTube, then those people that don't need the captions can turn them off and still enjoy the content. So yeah, I get that. Because I was thinking, oh, don't YouTube do captions? But yeah, if they're not 100% accurate, I mean, YouTube has some fun with my Australian accent. Let's be honest. I'm sitting on. Hang on a second. It hasn't come over to this. I'm also sitting on my hands waiting for YouTube to bring in the YouTube described video on a secondary audio track. Right now I'm using Udescribe. I haven't heard anything about that coming through. Because I know what you're talking about. I know when I've got certain channels that I can watch here in Australia where I can click a button and it'll start describing everything that's happening around. So my question for you is, if you are teaching a knitting technique, are visually impaired people going to be doing that technique? Because it sounds like, you know, and I'm not trying to be mean or anything here, but while you have an absolute passion for helping people, you know, feel included with their disabilities, which I think is awesome, is that actually counterintuitive to what you're doing? Oh no, there's 100% blind knitters. Okay, I did not know that. I didn't know that. There you go. So then that's fantastic. Then do that. Yeah. I know that there is very good closed captioning software out there, but it's not cheap and would be on all the time for everyone, opposed to a YouTube version built in. Yep. I've taught some of them in person. The lack of described video is a huge problem. Yeah, I look, and I'm here with Andrew as well, and I'd say that the key is balance and finding how to balance. So you don't necessarily need to make sure that every single one of your videos has this I mean, probably the closed captioning, but like the actual descriptor thing that you're talking about, you describe. Um, so you don't need to have that in for every single thing if it's slows down production too much. And you can make it clear, like, like you can be like for specific designs and patterns and things like that, absolutely put it in. But if you're doing a live stream, possibly not. I don't know. You need to find the balance for yourself. Um, oh, and chart only patterns because screen readers can't read those. Okay. All right. All right. The describe video track doesn't take me too long. It's usually pretty minimal. Okay. Well, that's good. That's good. So you are finding your own balance, which is important because we do need to find the balance because it is very easy to get caught up in the weeds. It is very easy to go, okay, I want this to be this thing here. And then you get it to sort of here and you're still not willing to, like, from the ground, and you've gotten it all the way to here. But that's that bit there. You're like, well, I don't have that bit, so I'm not putting it out. And there needs to be a balance. You need to make that decision of it doesn't have to actually be perfect to be published. And, it's not like a near enough is good enough attitude, but there's this, what is it? Is it the 80-20 rule? I think it's the 80-20 rule where 80% of the work takes 20% of the time, and that last 20% takes 80%. I think that's how it works. I don't know. Yes. However, what you're doing, Sarah, is making your audience feel seen, heard, represented, and that is key. And that's what, and if that's what she wants to do with her audience, then that's what she needs to be doing. Absolutely. I do agree with that, because this is the thing. We do have our niches. We do have our audiences. And how do we make it so that they feel like that they are connecting? Sarah has to go that next level. Sarah's got special things that she needs to do to make sure her audience is feeling connected. I try to make, with these particular videos, I try to make them podcastable. So I do try to read out all the comments. So I'm not just responding to the comment on the screen. I try to read it out or incorporate it into my answer, so that when people are just listening, they know what's going on. And which is another reason why I don't go really heavy with graphics and things like that on these particular videos, is because I put these into podcast playlists. And then, like sometimes if there's a lot of graphics and stuff, there's people who are listening that have no idea what what you're referring to, because they can't see it. And so that's a decision that I've made, which is why I go a little less graphics heavy. Now, obviously that's not always the case, because sometimes I will be showing software or things like that, but those videos don't tend to put into the playlist. So we all have to find our balances, and we have to work out what it is that our audience needs to feel seen and heard and to help them feel connected with you. So Sarah's going next level. Absolutely. But because her audience needs her to go next level. I don't think I have Sarah's audience. And so I don't need, at least as far as I'm aware, if there's someone who is watching the replay or who's in the chat who would appreciate some of these sort of extra things, you should let people know. You should say in the chat, hey, it'd be really helpful if, and make it clear. So if you're watching a creator and you're a person that could really use some like additional, okay, prime example is what exactly Sarah was talking about here. If you're a person whose screen reader cannot read some of the things on the screen, do you know that the person who is trying to teach you may actually not know that? They may not know that your screen reader can't actually capture that. So letting them know in like not an aggressive mean way or something, but just like saying, hey, by the way, just to let you know, I was really following along and I love this, but when you got to this, my screen reader couldn't screen readers can't access that sort of information. I had no idea. I'm not really into the sort of accessibility parts of the internet, but those people that need it really need it. So depending on who your audience is, they might be here going, hey, I can only take in half of what you're doing because of the technology or the technological limitations. Words not working. And so if you let them know in your chat, and let them know in your comments, they may actually be able to do something about it, because they may, like, there's two schools of thought. They may not actually be able to do anything about it because they can't afford to, right? They might be at this level of streaming where there's no spare cash, or not just streaming, but creating, and they can't afford to. But then they might be able to adjust how they're doing some things themselves to make it a little less in your face. But then there might be others that can just go, oh my gosh, I had no idea that I was like making it impossible for this percentage of my audience. What do I need to do to fix that? And they might be able to just jump straight in and fix it. And prime example, Sarah says, I had a patron who alerted me to some accessibility issues on Patreon. I had no idea, but was able to pass them on, and then Patreon fixed them. Because that's the thing. Sometimes we don't know what we don't know. While I personally can see and hear mostly, I haven't come across needing any of these particular tools yet in my life. That could change down the track. Who knows? But having somebody point out that they need this thing is a really great way you can engage with them in their community. Like, make them feel seen and heard. Explain, like, oh, wow, okay, I'll see what I can do about, do you have any suggestions? Is there something that you use? Do you know of a website I can go at to learn how to do this better? Now, some people will be like, oh, but then you're putting it on the person with the disability to educate you. So that's, some people will be anti that as well. But I just think that sometimes explain you didn't realize what you were doing and how do I fix it can really be helpful. Andrew says, one of the best things we can do for one another as a community is extend more benefit of the doubt and let the actions to that be what guide us, not just assume the worst. Yes, I agree. I'm very much, I try to give people the benefit of doubt, but every now and again, I can't. Sarah says, one of the really low-tech, low-cost pieces of accessible streaming advice I got was to not cover my mouth or face when I'm showing off my knitting, because some people lip read. I never even considered that, because I'm actually a person that, because my hearing goes a little bit janky sometimes, I watch people's lips when they're talking, and I get frustrated when I can't see their mouth. And I didn't even consider for a second that sometimes I will literally do this. I'll hold up what I'm doing and cover my face. Not often, but I do it. And it just didn't even enter my brain until you said that just right then, that it's an issue. I get frustrated, like when I'm on calls with people and they don't want to put cameras on. And I'll just be like, because I need to see their face. I mean, I can still hear them, but there's something I connect better when I can see a face and I can look at their faces and I can work out if they're grumpy based on their face and their tone better than the words that they're saying. Everyone's a little bit different. Yeah, that's when you break out that ginormous band hammer and surgically apply it. Ginormous band hammer and surgical strike. Does that actually work together? Like, maybe I need a little teeny tiny band hammer for surgical striking. Yeah, that's exactly it. I'll hold up whatever I'm doing in front of my face, and now I'm really trying to remember not to. Yeah, I get that. I get it. And I'll be taking that on board as well, because, and also those people who actually turn off their face cam when they're showing something, like they've only got the one camera and they need to have it on the table, or or they're playing a game or whatever, and they don't have their face camera in it. They're losing that as well, even though it's quite small and probably a little bit harder to see. Isn't that interesting? Everybody has their own sort of little things. Everyone has their own little things, and we don't know what other people need. We just don't. And so when they tell us, we need to listen, and we have to try and, because they might be frustrated as well. Like, oh, great, another channel who's doing the wrong thing, kind of thing. So yeah. Andrew says, this conversation we're having is exactly why representation matters, not only of those who are in the community, but have been taught by them. Agreed. I agree. I agree. Because we don't know what we don't know. I don't know. I didn't even think that just holding something up and talking about it, because I'm like, oh, you can see it better now, you know? I just didn't even consider that it was now making it so that you couldn't see what I was saying about it. So yeah, there's so many different aspects of things, and it depends on your community, and you need to understand what it is that your community need. And quite often I will tell you. And are you listening? Are you reading the comments? Are you responding to the comments? Are you digging deeper? Are you asking more questions? Are you building the connection to your community? Because the other thing is, and I feel like it's nearly like a slimy segue. The other thing is, when somebody feels like that they are being listened to and they are getting the response that they need, they will tell their friends, hey, if you want that same feeling about the channel, go to this channel. The word of mouth of a channel that actually helps and a channel that actually listens, it's insane. Like, you think about it. You think about the channels that you go to for education, and you think about which ones people go talk about the most, and it's usually the ones where they're getting their answers, their questions answered in the comments. Sarah says, and it's also about doing your best. You may not have all the resources. You may not get it 100% right, and that's okay. Absolutely. You still got to give it a go. Give it a red hot go. Like when I first started live streaming, I did not have all the resources, but I was still going to do it. And I tried my best. And I think that's the same for all of us. We have to be open to the communication. If you aren't willing to connect and communicate with your audience. Now, I understand if you've got a kids channel, it's so much harder. It's a whole nother conversation. But if you don't have a kids channel and you do have your comments open and you are not responding to your comments and you're wondering, you know, or you're not getting comments, have a look at how you're speaking in your videos. Are you leaving space for people to ask a question? Sometimes they don't ask the question because you've made just such that banger video that when someone goes to, you know, like, because there are those ones, you think about it, you'll be like, oh, but what about this? And then the next sentence is, well, then, you know, and if this happens, and then you're just like, oh, you know, and maybe the comment could be, you answered every question I had. Thank you. You know, like, and then your response will be like, every question? You sure you don't have any more questions? Because questions are great. Andrew says that in around 2017, we had a mum come to us at VidCon for TubeBuddy that cried for us having CC on YouTube. I would manually do them for accessibility and SEO, but for her son, he could learn YouTube. Yeah. And that's the thing. We don't realize until someone tells us the impact that we're having. Quite a few years ago, Justin Brown suggested that that we keep these sort of, like, I can't remember exactly what he called them, but I call mine my positivity file, right? Where people have sent you a DM or a comment or an email or something, grab a screenshot of it, because sometimes we forget. We get so caught up in all the negativity and the mean comments and the stuff that we need to moderate out, that sometimes the positive and the kindness get overlooked. So screenshotting those special comments, those ones where, you know, we've changed someone's life. I was at a yarn show this weekend. It's the first one I've been to in years. It felt very surreal. Every time I turned around, there was people I'd met or seen or worked with over the years. It was the most bizarre experience I've had in a really long time. And I had this woman walk up to me and she was like, Chantelle, I need to talk to you. I was like, oh, okay. And in my brain, I'm like, I know this face, but I don't know where from and I don't know her name, right? I'm just like, oh, I can't. And it was like, was I just overwhelmed from just this entire day because it was getting later in the day? And she was just like, years and years ago, um, we were sitting next to each other at like a crafty day, and I was watching you knit, and you knit differently than everybody else, everyone else in her circle. And she was like, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm knitting." And she was like, "No, what kind of knitting?" And I said, "Continental knitting." And she was just like, "Well, why?" And I said, "Well, I'm a crocheter and this just works better for me." She went home and she learnt continental knitting. She is now knitting professionally. She wanted to let me know that she actually said, which really blew me away, that I changed her life and now her whole life is craft. And I was just like, I had no idea that a simple conversation, like it was like literally 2 sentences, where we were talking about the knitting and then we just got on with our day. I had no idea that she went home and she did that. And now she's working for a yarn company and she does all their sample knitting, and just like, we don't know how we're impacting people all the time. We don't. We don't know if we're changing people's lives. We don't. We don't know if we're changing them for the better or for the worst. All we can do is that we can try, and we can keep trying, and we can communicate, and we can continue to communicate. We can encourage comments. We can't make people comment, but we can make a place where they feel like they could. And we just keep trying. And that's all we can ask for. Sarah says, I went to a yarn show where the wheelchair access was a really janky plywood ramp. Guess what? I was just happy to be there and it worked just fine. Oh, okay. That's cool. Oh, but I suppose, I mean, if it worked, then it worked. I'm just like, I'm worried about the wheelchair and the janky, but yeah. Russell says, so is the number that show up for a stream regularly and the fact that increases regularly or is always has the same small group the measure of its success? I don't know. Like, what is your measure for success? So that's the thing. Like, what do you consider successful? For me, having people, like, personally, I would like that the stream would slowly increase over time and get a few more people. And I don't know if I measure that so much as success or if it's just something I want. I don't know. Is it a vanity thing? I don't know. And I try to temper myself. But I don't know what success is for you. If I'm impacting people, if I'm helping people, then I don't care if it's the same 10 people. I don't. But I think it's going to depend on you. So you need to make those decisions for yourself. What is it, like, what do you consider success? What do you consider failure? And then work towards the success. So for me, failure is me not turning up to stream. That's my failure point. If I don't turn up to stream, that's the failure. Okay. Now, obviously, there are times where I have to plan not to come to stream because of reasons. I don't consider those failures as planned. But if I just don't feel like streaming, that's in my brain, that's the failure point. So we all have our own. We all have our own. Things don't have to be fancy to work. Oh, mate, I am all for the janky jiggery pokery. I do a lot of that. Livestream Consultant says, that's the power of the internet. We can touch someone and change their lives and never have met them in person, and in particular on YouTube. Yes. Yep. There is a channel that I have watched maybe 5 or 6 times, same video now. No, maybe not that many times. I probably did watch it a few times before I did it. It was how to change the rollers on my sliding door. I don't know if that dude knows. I've realized I've never commented. But he's saved me so many times because I thought I was going to have to replace the door. And it turned out I didn't have to replace the door. I could just replace the rollers, and this is how you do it. Same thing with a guy who made a video about how to reset the toner levels on my specific printer, because they count the number of prints that you do, not the number of color prints. So it's like, oh, you've done 1,000 color prints, you must be out of blue, except I print mostly in black and white. And so it was like a jiggery pokery, press this button and this button with this open and hold it all together until it does this. I can't tell you, he's saved me thousands of dollars in toner because I didn't know that, like I'd always pull it out, give it a shake, put it back in. But yeah, I don't know. Andrew says success on YouTube is different for everyone. I look to build community, connections, and decent replay content. There you go. We all have. What's your level of success? Tell me in the chat. What's your success point? Where do you feel like success is for you on YouTube? I'd love to know. Sarah has said, oh, okay, other folks have made it home. I have to step out. Thanks for all the chatter, and I'll be back in a bit if you're still on. Thanks. Doug says, you never know who is watching in the background or on the replays that get impacted by your content. Absolutely. You have no idea. You have no idea. Like, you just don't. And you don't know how, like for me, I've ended up with jobs because of my content. And I'm just like, okay, cool. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's bizarre. Doug said, you usually know when I'm watching you in the background because you always greet me with, Andrew, what are you doing in my house? How long have you been in Australia? Like, don't you know how to knock? Okay. Livestream Consultants has a technical percentage. In general, live streams typically have between 0.01 and 0.1% of their total subscribers. If you're getting somewhere in that range, you are doing well on the live streams. I'm going to have to do some math here to work out if I'm doing well on live streams based on that. I don't know. So what have we got? We got 9. We had 10 at one stage. So 10's probably an easier round number. So yeah, I don't know. So, well, what's 1% of 300 of, no, 1% of 600 is 0.06? No, it's 6 people. Oh my gosh, like that's embarrassing. My brain just totally gave up. If that's the case, then I'm over that limit. So that's cool. Here we go. Russell's got his in. My success was measured by views and subs, but now it's measured by how many ideal clients I reach. Fantastic. That's so good. Because, and that's the other thing, our success metrics or our success point is allowed to change. You can change that. You can make it different. You can learn things and change how you look at it. Amelia Nicole, great to see you. Thanks for jumping in. I love it's like Amelia's from over on my Fiberific channel, so I'm always blown away by those of you that come over here and stay. Like, I get that you come over to check it out, be like, oh cool, but then it's just like, oh wait, you've stuck around. So I appreciate you coming and doing that. Because in my brain, I'm like, oh, what do yarn crafters want to learn about YouTube? But the reality is, so many of you are doing wonderful things on YouTube, and you want to make your viewing experience better. And sometimes to get a better viewing experience, understanding how it works can actually help. So I love that. And I also know that some of you eventually want to have your own channels and build your own communities and do things how you want to do them. And I get that as well. So I love that. I love it. I think it's wonderful. I've got a cat hair somewhere, like, get off. There we go. Sorry. It was in my, when you can see something and it just, your brain just fixates on it and just feel like, if you just move that, it's gone. That's where I was at. So yeah, so I don't know. We meander. We always meander, and I can't help it. It's just the kind of personality that I am. So if you don't enjoy the kinds of chatty rolling streams, and these probably really aren't going to be enjoyable for you, but I love the conversation. And even if sometimes I get a bit like riled up or a bit ranty, I still love the conversation, and I love that you're here to have the conversation with. And that is why I do these streams, is to have conversations and to learn things. I learn things about myself. I learn new things about YouTube. I learn things about you. And I think that's really important to continuously grow and keep learning. Live stream consultants. Oh, thank you for doing that math for me, honestly. That is correct, Chantelle. I have a friend that has over 350,000 subscribers. They would typically have about 350 live viewers. I have another friend with high subs and live numbers are that of 0.1%. Okay. I've never really put numbers on it like that. I kind of just think, okay, over the last month I had this many per week, and then if it's growing, I don't know. Because I also know, like, not everybody who subscribes to a channel likes live streams. There is a small proponent of you might need to sit down to hear this. There are people who don't like live streams. There are people who don't like watching live streams. There are people who don't like watching replays. And they are out there. They exist. These people exist. And I just, so knowing that percentage actually helps me to understand that, it puts that into perspective is what I'm trying to say. Amelia says, you have a wonderful way of explaining things craft-wise and YouTube. Oh, thanks, Amelia. I very much appreciate you saying that. I try really hard to try and be clear, except then I also know my brain just goes off in these random squirrel moments. I hope it's at least entertaining. Geology Dude, welcome to the chat, Geology Dude. Great to see you. Success is being able to do something personally satisfying. Also, hopefully to influence and by doing something fairly original. I like that. That's a good definition of success because, like, we don't all need success to be fiscal. We don't. It doesn't. Not everyone's idea of success includes like financial, aspects of it. I'm sure it's probably helpful, but the focus is different. And I think everyone remembering that different people have a different idea of what success is really important because we do all technically have a different level of success. And I've probably said this a million times, but I remember I was at a Gary Vaynerchuk came to Australia for a thing. I sat through the worst salesy thing ever in my life. But I sat it out because Gary Vaynerchuk was the keynote and he was coming in later in the afternoon. So I stayed. My brains dribbled out my ears. It was awful. But Gary's talk was phenomenal and it was definitely worth the wait. And I'm glad I waited because at one stage I was just going to leave. I'm like, oh, I did not sign up for this. I'm out. But I stayed and I just sort of, zoned out really. Or actually, I didn't zone out. I sat there going, oh my God, I can't believe people are falling for this. It was awful. Anyway, Gary came in and did this talk. And the thing that he said, and he said it in videos as well, is that success looks different for some people. For some people, $80,000 a year is supremely successful. It gives them exactly what they want. Whether it's like, the income that they need to be comfortable and the time that they want to do the other things in their lives. Then there's other people where $1 million a year is not enough. And neither of these are wrong. They're not wrong. They're different levels of being successful for different people. And so understanding where you are at in that, what is it that you want? What do you consider success? And everyone's is different. Andrew says, YouTube also says average channels get 0.5 to 0.25% of subscribers who return. I'm writing this one down. 0.5 to 2.5%. So is that of the returning viewers? Is that that new returning viewers metric or is this something different? I'm very curious. Livestream Consultant says, it's on average. I did some sleuthing on YouTube and checked the lives YouTube shows and those percentages work out most every time. Small channels 1% and big sub channels close to the 0.01% for live viewership. Okay. Because I'm not normally a big fan of the like hard percentages. Sorry, my mouth's not working. The percentages kind of stats, but I also find them curious. For me, it's like, oh, that's interesting. So yeah, I definitely want to go there. Hey, Tech for Your Needs, great to see you. It's been a bit. Oh, it plays into that. Is your understanding? Okay, yeah, because it's the language feels similar. I'm definitely going to look into that. I don't know what my returning viewers are. I'm going to have to look. I know everyone's been jumping over and checking those. Oh, there you go. Russell says that Andrew Can, you're making me feel successful with that stat. Yeah, because that's the thing. Like, different people and different channels have these different, like, you know, some people might like, I was at a thing a couple of weeks ago, and someone was like so upset and so angry. Well, not so much angry, but like disappointed, and just like they didn't understand how their channel wasn't doing better. They only gained, you know, they only went from 500,000 to 1 million subs in 6 months. And there were other people at the table that were just like, really, poor you. But like it was a different level of success. So this person had a different goal of what they were doing, and they wanted something else. Whereas these other people had totally different niches, totally different content, totally different everything. So it's very hard to compare. Very hard to compare. Andrew says, back in my day, TubeBuddy would average 300 to 600, so the 0.1% is spot on. There you go. There you go. And that comes from YouTube themselves. That's awesome. That is, like, I think it's really interesting to learn about, like you know, we all know that, well, maybe we don't all know, but YouTube have put out that like good click-through rates are that between 2 and 10%. And there's some people like, you know, but I want 50% click-through rate, or, you know, so, like, they want the percentage to be closer to 100, because in your brain 100 is optimal. But understanding where the reality is, and that you fit quite comfortably into that reality, you might be at 8% thinking I'm doing trash, but then you're understanding that actually 10% is really quite good. Then getting that sort of reality check on where things actually sit is super useful. Andrew says, I define success that I'm helping people and my people are taken care of and I like what I do. See, that's about where I'm at. I like to help people, and I want people to feel like they're getting the help that they need. And I do want to like what I'm doing as well. I like that. I like that definition of success. That one sits really, okay. It's not necessarily good, but it is the average. Okay. But you do want to yeah, you're right. You do want to aim for that high end of average, but also understanding that that is a percentage on an individual video. There's so many people that look at their overall channel percentage of 2 to 10%, and they don't understand that that particular stat is for one individual video as well. So learning what the stats are for is also good. Russell said that there was another stat that only a very small number get monetized, and 20%, and 20,000 subs is rare air. Yeah, like, who was it? Was it Roberto? He normally comes out with the good stats. Andrew's probably got it as well, because Andrew's always got the sneaky good stats. But yeah, there's a very low percentage of channels that actually get converted. My question with these percentages of channels that get monetized is are they only counting channels that are uploading content? Because, like, there's a lot of channels out there for viewers that don't ever upload content. They're not there to upload content. They don't want to upload content, whatever. They don't even store videos there for family or whatever. And my question is it across every YouTube account, or is it only counting content that where people upload in that percentage of channels that get monetized? But yeah, let's have a look here. Only about 150,000 people are in the YPP full monetization. So that's the full 4,000 watch hours, 1,000 subs. Keep in mind the definition of a channel is anything created. And YouTube says there's 2.2 billion. Okay, so they do include all those viewer channels. Okay. And Andrew says, also huge caveat, that's today. That's actually a good point because things change. Things change. I forget which creator said, but he would only look at his stats in the year end. Hang on. But he would only look at his stats in the year end, and only if his numbers trended up was he happy. He would not check the individual video stats. Okay, that's an interesting way to do things as well. There's so many different ways that people do things. Like, I was taught that like getting a good overall picture on how a video is doing is to look at it from the life of the video, not just the last 28 days. And if you want to get an idea of how it's doing currently, look at that 90-day window. But that's because I'm doing searchable content, and obviously everyone's different. And if you've got people who are really trying to get in on recommendations and things like that, it's a different thing. It's a different thing. So many things depend on what it is that you're doing and how you're getting put in front of your audience. And there's so many, variables. There's so many variables. Russell says, I like helping people. It's my mission, but I'm looking for an exchange of resources, not a one-way street. I get that. Tomorrow, if we do our jobs, it will be more. Tomorrow, if we do our jobs, will be more. I don't understand. I'm sorry. My brain is just frying. I'm going to have a sip of my drink. Everything depends on how you look at it, though, right, Andrew? I'm just looking at this. He says, Andrew says, so it depends on how you look at it. I think everything depends on how you look at it. I think stats and reads, stats and graphs and everything, and like analysis of data always depends on what is the perception you're putting onto it as well. It will be more based on people in the YPP. Okay, all right. Thank you so much for clarifying that for me, Andrew, because my brain just totally was just like, nope, too hard. But yeah, and this is the thing. We all have different niches. And even if we're in a similar niche, we have different specializations into our sub niches. We all have a different idea of what is success. We're all making different content in different ways. So doing comparisons like for like is very difficult across multiple channels. You really do have to be remembering that you are playing a game against yourself. Okay, so your goal is to find your audience, support and encourage that audience, because then they will support and encourage you as well. It will be cyclical, hopefully. And by doing that, you can slowly build your audience as well. And that is sort of like the long game for everybody, really. And I think the big sort of portion of that is working out who is your audience, like who is your actual audience, not who you think your audience is, but who is your actual audience, and going in and working out who they are as people, and working out what it is that they like and what they don't like, and seeing where they're leaving in your videos. What are you saying? What are you doing that they don't like? And adjusting and making all these micro adjustments as time goes on, and just learning, just little bits and little bits and little bits and little bits. And it just, as you tie things in, as you get better at communicating, as you get better at responding to your audience as well, they'll get better at responding to you. And it's just a learning curve. And as long as we're all gentle with ourselves and just keep moving positively forward, I think that's the best that we can hope for. To quote Teddy Roosevelt, I don't know if I said that right, Roosevelt, comparison is the thief of joy. Yes, it is. Absolutely. Comparison is absolutely the thief of joy. Doug says, I also think there is a natural reciprocation. When you give freely, you'll have opportunities that come back to you. And yes, you should have a paid offering for those that want to go deeper. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I love this, because I think, like, when you do give freely, it is surprising the opportunities that come back. I'm always blown away. And I quite often sort of sit there just like feeling like this is, am I sure, is this spam? Is this spam? So yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's true. It took us how long to get Chantelle set up? I mean, it did. It took a while. It took a hot minute. And I've just realized that there was a second coffee that got bought. Speaking of BMAC. Hang on. It's being. Oh, it was from Larry. That's why my phone was being weird about it. It was actually more coffee from Larry because you know coffee. Oh my gosh, Larry, thank you so much for more coffee. I didn't even realize it came through. Why is not the alerts working? Is it too far? I'm going to bring it up and put it right there so it's just right in front of my face. Because I don't actually, I'll put it there. Will it still be good enough there? Because I didn't even see it come through. I'm so sorry, Larry. I didn't mean to ignore it, but thank you so much. But I do have it set up. I quite often forget to put it up because it's not my priority. But you know, keeping the lights on is probably a good thing, and the coffee helps with keeping the lights on. Tech for Your Needs says, is it good to look at the numbers? It is good to look at the numbers, but don't let the numbers consume you. As long as you're making progress. Come back. I didn't finish reading that. As long as you're making progress, it's great to look at the numbers, but don't let them consume you. Yes. They uploaded. Oh, did they? Oh, I haven't updated my stream overlays. Maybe I'm missing something. All right. And I've turned off my phone alerts because my phone bings, and I'm so sorry. If you wanted to send me coffee, you might need to let me know in the chat that you've done it so I can have a look. But no, you're right. Like, and Russell, it was hyperanalytica. That was the term you coined in our PVA group. It's you can get stuck in the weeds. You can be so busy like looking at the numbers that you actually forget what you should be doing. So yeah, it's very easy to get stuck. Now all we have to do is get Chantelle to write her gorilla modding book. It got sidelined. There's some stuff come up, and I'm just it's sidelined. Also keep in mind, you need to look at hang on. Also keep in mind, you need to look at the numbers the right way. So many people forget those numbers are real people. If 500 people showed up in front of you right now, you'd be overwhelmed. I'd freak out. I would freak out. Yeah, though people discount it on video. You're right. They absolutely do. They absolutely do. They go, oh, I only got 100 views on that video. And it's just like 100 people watched that video. Like that's like an average classroom in Australia is 25 students. That's 4 classrooms of students sat there and watched that video by choice. You know, like that's the thing. I try not to discount that because I'm that person that, like, as I said, I was at a yarn event this weekend and I walked into the room and it was so jam-packed full of people. I backed out. I was like, nope. There was probably about 500 people in that room. And that sheer number of people is overwhelming when you think of them as people. And I think that's an important thing. That, you know, that we do think about these people as people, because that's what they are. They're not just eyes on your videos. They're not just a view. They are a person. Hang on a second. I just need to. Sorry. Yeah, and as Andrew says, 50,000 subs would fill the Roman Colosseum. That is insane. How many were at Vid Summit last year? I think, off the top of my head, I think it was about 3,000 was at Vid Summit last year, because that was also crazy. That was like I went up to the roof, that party thing that they did on the first night there, and I backed out of there. That was too many. I couldn't cope. I was just like, whoop, I'm out. There is that fork in the YouTube road. In that Daryl mode, you feed the audience what it wants in pursuit of viewers. Others teach you to use YouTube to sell. Hang on a second. I've got the comments too far down. There we go. That in pursuit of viewers, others teach you to use YouTube to sell people on paying for your help. Yeah, and it's going to come down to what it is that you want, right? Because there's different types of audiences, and there's different types of channels, and you need to work out which advice works for your channel and your niche, and for you as a person, like your personality as well. So having like understanding a few different things depending on the kind of content that you're putting out. But I really do believe that if you're only making content for yourself, there's not going to be, like, yes, sure, you probably get a few views on it because, we're not wholly individualistic as humans. There's overlap, right? But I think if you can learn and understand who your audience is, you need, and like, I'm not saying, okay, choose an audience and then make that content. Have something that you're already passionate about and you want to talk about. Then work out exactly who it is that you want to talk to about it. You know what I mean, right? And then make that variation of that. And it's going to come down to what do you want to do? What do you want to do? Like for me, I want to live stream. My audience, if we look at the stats, if we're honest, they don't want to watch live streams. You guys do because you're legends and I love it. But most of them want those little 2-3 minute videos that are just fast, how to do a thing. Here's how to use a moderator tool. Here's how to set up for live stream. They want those. That's where the views are. They're not here, but this is what I want to do. So yeah. And it is also, how do I put this? It is also less stressful for me, and I can focus on my other work, which is my day job, which I actually love doing. So I've got a different goal. My goal is different. Okay. Live stream is at least 3. Entertainment versus help educational content. That's right. There is very big differences. Like, and if you are help educational, you want to be aiming in on the search. You want to be making sure that people are looking for the content you want to make. If you're entertaining, you need to word things differently. So if 100 on this live stream would freak you out, are you telling the universe you want to stay small? No, I'm not saying 100 people in this live stream would freak me out. I'm saying 100 people in a room would freak me out. I'm not good with people in my face, and I remind myself of that I get to have this audience of however many people, but I don't think I could handle it if I had to stand this close to them in reality, which is why I love live streaming. I've live streamed to way more than 100 people and I didn't freak out. So no. Livestream Consultants says, can you imagine having 3.5 100,000 seat football stadiums of people that subscribe to your channel to hear what you have to say? Now picture those channels with millions of subs. Oh, my brain just went mass stop, which is hilarious because I actually do a lot of math for yarn crafting and bits and bobs, but that's a lot of people. That's a lot of people. And this is the thing, you do have to think about the people as being real people. And yes, if I sat in a room with real people, it would be crazy. I would do live streams for an event where we had 800 people in the chat, and it was crazy and awesome and fun. But I didn't freak out because I had good moderators in there keeping the chat under control, and I was able to do what I needed to do. So it's going to depend. It's going to depend. Andrew says, I've been on a live stream with 2.4K people, and when the chat is like a roller coaster speeding by, I struggle, but I can do it. That's the thing. I moderated a chat that had 14,000 people, and I love now that we have the ability to slow the chat down so people can't just be like, chung, 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 chung. But even then, even with like that many people, it still moved really quite fast. I watched one time when Philip DeFranco went live. I tend not to watch his lives very much because time zones, but the chat was moving so fast, like, because he had the chat on the screen, like off to the side. It was moving so fast, it was actually a blur. It was legit a blur. I'm sort of sitting there thinking, those mods, his poor mods. That's all I was thinking. Oh, his poor mods. It was just moving so fast, it was a blur. And you can't interact when it's like that. It's very difficult. I mean, you can sort of like you can pause the chat, like you can click on it so the chat stops moving. So you might be able to grab a comment, but in the meantime, there's been 15,000 other comments that have just gone. It's going to depend on what you're doing. What is it that you're live streaming about? What is it that you're trying to get across? Like you have to think about these things, but most of us here are smaller. We're not worrying about the blur chat just yet. It could get there. It could absolutely get there. I'm not saying it won't. I'm just saying that right now, for most of us here, we don't have the blur chat. We have maybe, three. I think I'm looking here in the chat. Most people here are probably getting like maximum around the 300 to 400, depending on if they're streaming on their own channels or not. And so that sort of level doesn't blur. You can see the chat. Obviously, unless you've be like, just type me for this, and then all of a sudden it's like, that happens as well. But keeping an eye on your community and helping them to feel connected, the smaller communities help with that. They really do. They help with that because it does mean that I can answer each individual question. But Russell, if this chat was to get bigger and there were, say, 100 people and it was getting harder for me to make sure I got to speak to everyone, I would do something like what Nick Nimmin does, which is get a form in so people could still ask their questions. I would take in whatever tools I could do to help people who need to have their questions answered, find a way to make sure their voice is still heard. Obviously, you can't get to everybody when it starts getting to that point, but you can try really hard, which is what Nick does with his 3-hour live streams. I don't know if I want to go that. Russell says, do you want to be any bigger? I mean, yeah, I do. I think it would be great. But at the same time, I have to pour energy into other things. So I have to make a decision for me personally as to where to pour that energy. And I can't pour it into all places at once because I only have so many spoons. And so I do have to just think about that as well. So as we all think about our own channels, we do have to decide where do we have to keep energy. If you've got a full-time job, your full-time job has to take the majority of your energy because it's your full-time job. And then when you've got other things, you've got family commitments, what have you, we don't always have that ability to be able to just go, well, do you know what? I'm just going to throw all of that away and do this. Now, I was very lucky for quite a few years of when Fibrific first started. I had that ability. I was able to just really focus in and learn and work out what I needed, what my audience needed, and push. And then but it was always the advertising arm of my website. Everything led back to the website. It was a very different plan. Whereas now I'm relearning because I'm not pushing back to a website for sales. I am doing things differently. And so it is a great question, and it is definitely something that needs to be thought out, but understanding that not everybody can just pour all into one thing because we do have multiple cups that need to be filled. Andrew says, but the short answer is yes, I'd love to get bigger. Like, I'd love to have a bigger channel for sure. Who wouldn't? Andrew says, I think when you grow, you have to decide where you grow and want to grow. And how, I think, is the other important thing as well, because we all know there's awful ways to make your channel look bigger, which we do not recommend in any shape, fashion, or form. But making sure that you're also growing at a rate that you can sustain for the kind of experience that you want your viewers to have. I know some people are like, oh, well, that's a cop-out, but you could totally just hire someone in. But there has to be this point of velocity, right? Where, is it terminal velocity? Terminal velocity where, like, you've got to have a certain number of income before you can start hiring people in to help out to next level it, right? You can't do that from the start. And if you've got other priorities, you have to think about that. You do. And I do have other priorities, and I love my other work that I'm doing, and I love what I'm doing. And it's great. It's great. Andrew says, a lot of times people talk, but rarely do they try. Yeah, yep. I see it a lot. And look, I'm probably a person who can put their hand up and say I do that sometimes. I will learn things, I'll learn how to do it, but I don't actually go any further with it because I'm focusing on something else. And it's a decision I've made. And we all have to think about the decisions that we're making. Um, hey, how you going? Good to see you in the chat. So yeah, so it's we have to think about what our priorities are and what it is that we want, because you only get in what you pull out. So you only get out what you put in. And this is the same for live streaming communities. It's for your YouTube channels, your YouTube communities, and probably just about every other area in your life, let's be honest. You only get out what you put in. And if you don't talk to your audience, you don't get to have, you don't get to build that connection with the audience. And then you know, it's just part of how that is. If you don't build that connection, are they going to be a returning viewer? Possibly, possibly not. Now, you don't always have to actually communicate directly to build a connection. It can be things that you're talking about, things that you're saying, the story that you're telling, that can build a connection. And sometimes that's enough for some people, but other people want you to respond to them. So responding to the different ways that people have their channels built. And there's different expectations, and everything is so different from channel to channel to channel, and how they've built their business behind the channel. So you have to think about what it is that you want and then work out the steps to get you there. And that's going to depend on so many different things. Geology dude. 5% of YouTube videos have 0 views. If it was important to make the video, why neglect viewing the result of the effort? Look, I personally have a look. I like to see if people are watching the video. I like to check if people are watching the replay to help me decide on future content. I think those people that aren't watching their stats at all, ever, not even a cursory look, I do think that they need to be. I didn't realize that 5%, that seems to be quite a high percent that have 0 views, like actual a naught. I understand 1 view or low views, but 0 views seems quite high. I'm actually surprised by that stat. But yes, it's just, I think that if you are serious on this platform and you want to make content on this platform, you need to understand the analytics as well. And maybe not every single, there's so many, but every single analytic on exactly what it means. But especially when you're starting, you do need to be understanding a few different things. So you need to be seeing, for a start, is your video getting any impressions at all? So is it showing up on anywhere? So look at the impressions. And then are people clicking it? So cool. So that means that the title and the thumbnail and topic are working. Cool. But when they get in it, are they staying? How long are they staying for? When are they clicking away? What made them, at what point in the video did they click away? Did you say something? Did something happen in the video that made them decide, nope, this isn't for me? So there's so much more. There's so much more to it. Yes, Russell, absolutely. In order to grow, you have to do more than want it. In order to grow, sorry, I'm trying to read it here. Russell says, in order to grow, you have to do more than claim to want it. You have to choose to do the work. Absolutely. You have to put in the work. You can't just hope that you get a bigger channel. You can't. When people say to me, oh, I think your channel deserves more subscribers, I'm like, I think I've got exactly the number of subscribers I deserve. For the amount of work that I've put in, obviously I haven't put in the work that more people want to subscribe to. I have exactly the number of viewers that I deserve because I've put in this level of work. And done this many videos. I know for a fact that my audience prefer non-live streams, and yet I live stream. So, we all have to make these decisions and we have to choose what it is that we're doing. And I know I quite often turn things on what I'm doing, but that's because that's where my perspective is. And so, it's just, and you're right, Russell, you have to choose to do the work. So just saying I want to be a YouTuber and putting out gaming videos and then wondering why nobody's watching them, and then, going through from there, you have to understand what it is that people who like gaming videos want to see. Are you making gaming videos just because you want to make gaming videos and they're fun to make and you're having a good time? Because that's cool too. That's reason enough. But what is your ultimate goal? Is your ultimate goal just to be here to have some fun? Or do you want to grow and build a business out of it? Do you want this to be a job? So yeah, lots to think about. So much to think about. We've been going for so long today. We're definitely over time. I have to run away. But I've had so much fun chatting and hanging out with you all, because this is what powers me through the week, is this connection with you, jumping in, answering questions in the chat. Massive thank you to the mods who've come in to look after us and make sure that we're all well looked after into the chat. Andrew and Doug, thanks so much to both of you for being here. And to the rest of you for jumping in and answering questions and having conversations and just being in the community as well. I'm going to see you here next week, and we'll see if we have another topic to talk about, or if we're just going to ramble, because that totally happens too. All right, you guys have a fantastic week, and I will catch you next time. Bye now.